Thank
space.
you. There we go. Brilliant.
Hi,
Right. Well,
everyone.
welcome everybody. Over to you, Charlotte.
Thank you. I'm not going to talk for too long because I'm pretty sure you've all fed up with me from last week. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And I'd really like to introduce Chrissy, Lynette, and Julie, who's in the background doing the IT and the chat function. They're all from People for Business. This is a really good interactive session. It's on people don't leave their organisation, they leave their boss. Please get involved with the chat. Any questions, let the guys know. And if anything else, let me know. But I'm going to hand you over now to Chrissy.
Great. Thanks, Charlotte. And thank you all for joining us in the bright sunshine outside and also straight after lunch. Really, really pleased to be given the opportunity to present to you today with my colleague Lynette, and also in the background is another colleague, Julie, who is the absolute guru on our offering of a Good Boss questionnaire. Just apologies up front, I do have 2 teenagers and a dog, so schools are coming out just now, so if you see someone just barge in the room, that might be any of those 3. So let's move on. So a little bit about us. So I'm Chrissy. I'm one of the learning and development consultants at People Business, and our background is L&D, learning and development, HR. Much prefer the sort of L&D space. And as crazy as it sounds, we are super busy at the moment. We've been getting a lot of business with lots and lots of different clients and lots of different needs, and one of which is, a basic sort of management skills, which is good to hear. So I'm going to just hand over to Lynette to introduce herself and People Business and the agenda.
Thank you, Chrissy, and hi, everyone. I'll echo that. I've got 2 dogs, and of course, they never bark except when I'm on a Zoom call. So excuse that if it happens. I've been with People Business since about 2014 as office manager / everything else. About 2 years ago, went to part-time because I really wanted to explore a little bit more of my own business as well. So I've been the part-time office manager. All in all, I've had about 30 years working experience, and I've had a PA, EA function in some capacity throughout most of my career, right up to board level, across different sectors. So it's been really interesting. At the moment, in my spare time, or my non-people business time, I'm continuing my coaching qualifications. So I'm an NLP practitioner, and I'm working towards my CBT next, which is really exciting. So People Business is a fantastic company. We all just love working there. So for over 20 years, People Business has offered reliable expertise in all aspects of HR and people development across the whole people spectrum. We offer a wide range of quality services on a flexible or even an ad hoc basis. Our founder and managing director, Andrea Gregory, she also co-developed Good Boss and the Good Boss product. So by using our unique Good Boss product, which is a psychometric tool, we can help you improve individual and organizational performance by identifying which behaviors really motivate and energize others. Would you move us to the next slide, please, Chrissy?
Sure.
So now we'd like to, just hear a little bit more from you. So maybe raise your hand. Well, we can't really see one another, so maybe not raise your hand.
Maybe the emotions, right at the bottom of your screen. Sorry there, Lynette, for jumping in. But
no, I appreciate that.
There's
Thank
an
you.
emotions button, and if you click on that, I know Fatima, you found that earlier. So you could either show your hand, or if you've got your video turned off, you could perhaps do the thumbs up or a heart.
Yay!
Yeah, brilliant. All right, back to you then, Lynette.
Thank you. I mean, we're just we'd just like to get to know a little bit more about you. I mean, how many of you are really, really interested in investing in self-development? Have you invested highly in self-development? So I'm going to have to scroll across the screen at the top there just to get a flavor of. So there, we've got a good mix of. So in your current functions, I mean, how many of you have either a supervisory or managerial role in addition to being a PA and EA? So there we go. We've got a whole lot more.
Fantastic.
Thumbs up coming on.
Brilliant.
And then, at what levels? I mean, do we have people who are here working at the higher level, board level? There we go. We've also got a few in there. So that's amazing. Thank you. I think we can move on to the next slide, Chrissy.
Great stuff. Thanks. Lynette.
So just a little bit about our agenda today, discovering the Good Boss questionnaire together. It is a psychometric tool, as we mentioned earlier. So this afternoon, we're just going to take you through what makes a good boss good. A brief overview of the research behind it, very briefly. We'll touch on what exactly it measures and how it's relevant to you and your organization. Developing management effectiveness. We'll give you an overview of the Good Boss model, the scales, the report, and just our approach. And in between, we'll have some interactive exercises. I think one breakout room exercise. So as Chrissy mentioned earlier, please switch on your videos for that and have a good old chat in those. And then there'll be a Q&A session after that. And then, of course, any additional information, depending on our timing.
Fantastic.
What is our next slide there?
Thanks, Lynette. Well, it's this. We have a task.
There we go.
We have a task for you to do to wake you up a little bit, and to get the sort of the grey matter moving on this subject. So what I've done is I've developed 3 meeting. Oh no, hold on, it might be more. Have I got another meeting room? No, I've got 3 meeting rooms by the looks of it. So I've got Charlotte, Fatima, Gillian in one, Kerry, Lisa, Lynn and Mac D in another, Martine, Nikki and Sally in another. So what will happen, guys, is when I press my button, you'll get a blue button that says join room, and you just click on that button and you'll be sucked out of this main room and into a smaller breakout room. So yes, please do pop your cameras on for this exercise. That would be fab. This is what we'd like you to do. If you could please take a photo with your phones of this activity. We'd like you to think about the best boss you've worked for. Which behaviours did they demonstrate? And what was the impact of those behaviours? And then conversely, when you think about the worst boss that you've worked for, what behaviours did they demonstrate and what was the impact? All right. Are there any questions? If so, could you put them in chat? Or I will assume you are ready to go. Are ready to go? All right, brilliant. So I reckon, I'm just looking at the time, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 minutes. All right, so when you see the blue button, off you go. Thank you. Okay, so I can see that.
So we've had somebody else join us. Hi, Richter. Hi. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, sorry.
Hi, that's all
Hi.
right.
No problem.
children pick up. That's made me late. Sorry.
Yeah,
yes,
it
I
is
know.
a bit of a challenging time.
Yeah, we need to, we maybe should have made it a bit earlier or later.
Definitely.
Irita, how do you feel about if I sign you into a breakout room? Can you, if you see the slide in front of you,
Yeah.
this is the questions that we're grappling with. If you could take a photo of that slide, please, with your phone,
Sure.
and I'll put you into room 3
Yeah.
with Martine, Nikki, and Sally.
Okay.
So room 3. Are you clear on what you need to do?
Yeah. It's.
Yeah, excellent. Off you go. You'll get a button. Just click on the button.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done, Julie. Oof, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. I've got breakout groups on my right. I've got the slide to my.
Have you got 2 screens, Chrissy?
Yeah.
I've never had 2 screens.
I couldn't work
People told
without
me
it.
that they couldn't do this without 2 screens.
No way. And it's not just this, but designing a training, and people are sending you slides to put into a slide pack. I can have my main pack on one screen and then pull it in from another.
Yeah. Nice.
Just a question on the recording. Should we pause this bit for the...
Yes, but let me stop sharing and then. Don't know how. Oh yeah, pause. Here we go.
It's lovely to see some faces.
It is. It is. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Mac.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
My name's Diane. It's just
Diane.
that's my
Thank
username.
you. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
My surname has come up. So
I'm going to. I have the power to rename you.
I was just going to say, I'm going to do that.
Rename you Diane, just so that we can, you know,
so
when we're
people call me
talking.
Mackie.
Okay, got it. Yeah, my surname is or used to be McCree, so I was used to that. Hi, Kerry. Hi, nice to see you. Hi. Hi, Sally. Whoa, everyone gets sucked back in. It's like being in a time warp, isn't it? Yeah, we've actually fast forwarded, guys. It's June 22nd now. We're all free.
And the sun is still shining.
That'd be lovely.
Right. I'll tell you what I'll do, Lynette, is I'll just reshare that slide. Hold on, I'll share my screen, I mean. So we've got something to work from. Okay, so just in view of the time, is there a group that would like to go first? There were 3 groups, so is there a group that would like to go first? What I'd like to do is for that group to feed back on the best boss. Anyone? Who was in group number 1? I think that was, were you in group 1, Charlotte? Yeah, who was in your group, Charlotte?
It was me, Fatima and Gillian. Sally, I'm going to resend her a link now, just so I've just seen your chat.
Okay. All right, so from that group then, please, what were the behaviours that the best boss demonstrated, and what was their impact? And Julie's going to pop that in the chat, aren't you, Julie? Great. So either one of Charlotte or Fatima or whoever was in that else was in that group.
Turn my emails on, now it's all going mental.
I don't mind doing it from our group if it's easier.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Who was that said that?
It's Martine.
Martine, brilliant. Okay, Martine, go ahead. Thank you.
So I think we all had the same experience. So it's people that trust you and empower you just to get on and do your job. People that are interested in your development and your sort of career aspirations, in supporting those and helping you through that, even if that means ultimately you may end up leaving the company or moving position, you know, if you've developed and sort of got to the point where you've got the most out of the role that you're in. So yes, it was very common themes across all three of us.
Great. Trust, empowerment, values their people, interested in them as people. Brilliant. And yeah, big words, I think, big topics, especially throughout the lockdown as well. Yeah, excellent. Okay. Can we hear from another group on the worst boss traits, please? The worst boss behaviours. Who'd like to do that? Come on, don't be shy.
Well, we had, one of the ones that come up in ours was lack of communication and lack of trust in the team. That was something that come up in our one. Yeah, for the bad bosses.
And was that, when you say lack of communication, Charlotte, is that lack of communication by your boss to you, or are you just noticing that as a trait by that manager, that they're just not communicating well enough with other people, other stakeholders?
I think it's more just not communicating with other stakeholders. I've seen it with other bosses, and I know we all three of us actually agreed that we've seen that before in the past with people. Just the lack of communication, the lack of direction, it doesn't help.
And what was the impact of those?
Fatima's just put in the chat, inflexible micromanagement, easily threatened and insecure as well.
Yeah, hence the micromanagement. No, thank you, Fatima. That's really useful. So thank you.
Demoralising, and it's rudeness,
demoralising. Yeah, okay. So if we think about the people, those bosses we've worked for that have been, that have showed some bad behaviours, let's reflect on those impacts for a second. These are really big things, aren't they? And big enough for you to think long and hard about whether that's the place that you want to be, that you want to work. The good behaviours, on the other hand, my goodness, don't they make us feel great if we're empowered rather than being micromanaged? If we have a boss that we feel values us, and I think it was Martine you said shows an interest in us, that's so important. And I think you also said, Martine, even if you end up leaving the company, it's having that person that's believed in you, that's mentored you, that's trained you, that's helped you to move on, because you're not going to get that. You're not going to forget that person, and your paths might cross again. Brilliant. Thank you. So why do we do that exercise? Well, it's the foundations of the Good Boss tool is that people don't leave organisations. They leave the person they've worked for. And it's a bold statement to make. But when people business started out on researching a psychometric tool, which was way back in 2005, 2006, we actually looked at over 1,500 participants. So we did some very thorough research, and we've actually revisited that research twice since, the most recent being in 2019. And all these things, hold true today. And it's really tough to be in that situation, right? Having a boss that is behaving badly, it's something that's out of your control. And it's very uncomfortable to then think to yourself, well, what can I do about it? If I go to the second line manager to complain, how does that make me look? So it is almost sort of, you do feel a bit powerless. I'm just going to take you through a couple of slides now, just to bring this back into life a bit more. Lynette is then going to show you some statistics, and then we're going to actually show you what the Good Boss questionnaire is. So bear with us, because we're going to get to that point. But it's so important we just kind of set the scene and set the context. So a good boss has the power to make employees feel positive about their job and their organisation, and that came up in the exercise that you've just done. And do you know what? It's more vital now more than ever. Having empathy for our people's home life, the fact that they need to leave at a certain time to do a school pickup, you know, the uncertainty at the moment around, you know, going back to the office. There are companies out there saying, no, absolutely, everyone's going in. There's others that are saying, I think it's a building society, a nationwide building society, have said you can work where you like. So there's, you know, I think organisations are starting to sort of grapple with that, and that brings some uncertainty. Changes to companies' direction or strategy, and you know, it just leaves the staff with that feeling of, well, where do we fit in on this, in all of this? And that's the boss's job. It's the manager's job to make them feel that they do absolutely fit in, and this is the way they fit in. Employees with a bad boss are twice as likely to put in less effort. And this boils down to the boss just failing to give good recognition or feedback. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, feedback can be, it has to obviously needs to be constructive and timely, but even if you've done something that's not quite the way that your boss expected, you just need to know, so that you can do it, you know, you can improve on it next time. In our research, nearly half of the employees with bad bosses felt worthless, actually. And you know, it is a human need to know how you're doing. Yeah. And even more so when you've been, you know, you're stuck indoors and you're just, you know, your work is your screen. You know, the socializing you do at work is through your screen. So knowing that you're doing things the right way and what's expected of you is so important. Nearly 1 in 4 of Britain's bosses are dreadful, according to UK employees. And you know, I'm not putting these stats up there to make you feel sort of bad about the whole thing, but you know, this is the point of the Good Boss questionnaire. It is designed to highlight areas that need development, that need improvement. Okay, so I'm going to pause there and hand back to Lynette, who's going to do show you a few slides and do a quick quiz with you.
Sorry, can I just say, Charlotte, Jen's waiting for you to let her in.
Oh, my apologies. We missed that. There we go.
Cool, thanks.
I thought I got the link over. Sorry. And weirdly enough, Marketing's just sent out an email for me for a different event. So I was trying to scroll through to find her email.
Right. All live, and thank you for joining us. I'm sorry we left you in the waiting room there. We were so into our conversation that we missed that highlight. So we are just going to gallop you through a few of these interesting stats about the research. So let's guess the multipliers. Let's have a few answers in chat. Nearly how many times, percentage-wise, if you have a bad boss, so people with bad bosses are nearly how likely to look for another job?
We're looking for a number, I think, aren't we, Lynette?
20%, yeah. 50%, 75%. Oh, it is a number. So 4 times as likely, 5 times as likely. I'm too into all the stats. What have we got coming up? Well, there we go. So yeah, I mean, 50%, that would make it what? 70%. So let's take it. I'm just going to ask for the next slide.
The next slide will show the responses to all of the dots.
All of them. There we go. So Fatima, you are spot on there. 4 times as likely to look for another job.
There you go.
Yeah. And then more than 3 times as likely to resign. More than 3 times as likely to fake sick days. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Seeing as though I didn't present that too
Thanks,
wonderfully.
Lynette.
I get stuck in those stats. I find it so exciting.
Well, and I think moving on to the next slide shows the impact of the multipliers, doesn't it? So
It
here
does,
we go.
yes. I mean, we found, greater disruption from staff turnover. I think we all know what it's like when you just get your team functioning and then somebody resigns and you've got to start that whole process all over again. The higher recruitment and training costs, the loss of productivity, reduced levels of loyalty and motivation. What other knock-on effects can you think of? I mean, maybe drop a few in the chat function.
Thanks, Lynette. I'm going to put one in, which is well-being. A hot topic, a massive hot topic, and I think one that's really come to the fore during this pandemic. And how bosses do have a responsibility to check in on staff and just ask how they're doing.
Yes.
You got anything coming in chat?
Presentism. Oh, Fatima, that is a good one. That is incredible. Yeah, presentism. I mean, how often do you find that you're not really engaged, not really efficient, you're just there in body but not necessarily in mind?
I think also with presenteeism, Lynette, it's about that feeling, isn't it, of your boss making you feel that you should be responding to emails at 10 o'clock at night when he or she sends them. So that's another aspect of it. Thank you.
Yeah, does anybody else want to add anything? No?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for the interaction so far. Next slide is the research.
Yeah, so once again, we'll just go through this very quickly, but in the survey, I mean, 48% of employees say their boss was in the wrong job. I mean, that's quite a high number. 44% of employees blame lousy role models. Once again, 44%. I mean, that's nearly half of employees. This is a staggering number. Say their boss hasn't been trained in how to be a good boss.
Yeah, and I think, what I'd like to just say at this juncture is that it's what this slide is saying is that Basil 40, why can UK bosses seem so bad? And sometimes we find that that manager may have been promoted very quickly and very suddenly and hasn't had the right mentorship or guidance or coaching, so it might not be entirely their doing. I'm
just looking at the chat from Sally. Goodness, Sally. I mean, how did that make you feel, Sally, when this happened?
Well, to be honest, I was expecting it, but I was also quite annoyed. I mean, I've spent the whole of the past month or so organising this MIPIM. When all these people go and promote themselves in Nice and they're all sitting around drinking champagne and Prosecco and they're doing their bit, but it's all the stuff that we've put together. And so she's been messaging me all day about things that she wanted. And then 11 o'clock at night, telling me, in fact, she actually said, this perfume smells like dog's piss. And I was like, I'm going to bed. I was like, really needed to hear something like that. But this champagne or Prosecco's lovely. I've got these chocolates. Oh, I need you to chase this one, that one. I said, what time is it over there? Oh, it's at 4 o'clock. I went, it's 11 o'clock at night here. And I've been working since 8:30 this morning. Oh, is it? Oh, well, but I really need you to sort this. So in the end, you do it because you just think, oh, I'll just get it done and over with. And I'll start emailing. No one's going to read it, but you feel like you should do it and get it done because they're on the phone. And it wasn't even my work mobile, it's my personal mobile. And I thought, right, note to self, put it on silent as soon as I get home, because it's just an assumption that you're going to do it. One of the things she got me to do while she was over there is, and this is what she was asking me for, 11 o'clock at night, can I get a list together of the local shops near her where she can go look at shoes and bags in her breaks? And I did. I thought it's just easier to do it, isn't it? But yeah, it does make you feel like I can't say no.
Yeah.
Even though you can, You
it's
feel like
made me, yeah, and it's made me really thoughtful about, you know, the roles you have as PAs and EAs. You're just, you know, you're the right hand, you're the person at the right hand at the whole time, and it must feel at times that it can be very 24/7, I'm sure. But you know, this is where, and Lynette will explain later, that the sort of we've got two questionnaires. We've got one that you can do on yourself, and one that your boss can do, or you can do on yourself if you supervise staff. And it is about building the self-awareness. But if your boss is not aware that they're doing these things and the impacts of it as well, then they're not got a hope in hell, really, of making any changes, you know, to their behavior. Okay, thank you for all these useful comments coming in. During work, yeah, create emails during working hours, log on at 10 p.m. and send them back to the boss to make them look good. Yes, I've seen that as well. I used to work for IBM, and that used to go on a lot. Okay, Lynette, I'm just going to move on to the actual questionnaire now. Okay, I can't see you anymore, Lynette. You there?
I am, yes.
You are.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, there you are. So why is this relevant? Well, the culture a boss creates, the relationships that they create with their employees, has a direct correlation to their employee satisfaction. And GBQ research, the research we did on the GBQ, is fundamentally based on this. And most recently, in September of last year, a report by McKinsey showed that relationships with management, good relationships with your manager, are the top factor in employees' job satisfaction. Their research showed that people in the workplace with good management relations are significantly more satisfied. So when it comes to feeling happy, motivated, engaged at work, that boss employee relationship is so critical. And you know, this is the sort of thing you were saying earlier in your groups as well, I'm sure. And this is absolutely where the Good Boss questionnaire comes in. So let's take some time to have a look into that in more detail. Some of our clients that have been using the Good Boss questionnaire, or GBQ for short, there are some some household names there. And in fact, this you can see the royal insignia. It has been used in the royal household. I don't think the Queen has done GBQ, but who knows? But it's been used there. So the point with this slide really is that, you know, it's covered a lot of different types of industries. And what we want to do is, you know, we have a passion anyway in people business of developing managers and developing leaders, and this is a tool to do that. The GBQ is a psychometric questionnaire that improves not just individual performance, but, you know, if you understand a bit more about how you're working with others, that is going to have a knock-on impact directly to how your team will perform, the organisation performs. The GBU, which is designed just for an individual, this is designed for someone who hasn't got responsibility for staff, or who may have responsibility for staff in the future, is a tool that can identify just some key areas of self-development. Okay, and we have news of an offer, which I will let Lynette explain towards the end. So let me introduce you to the Good Boss questionnaire. I'm sure you've been waiting to hear what is it? What does it look like? Okay, there's a lot going on this slide. So in simple terms, there are 7 focal points to the Good Boss questionnaire. Values people, manages himself, herself, manages the task, explains and listens, controls their emotions, and outgoing personality. We are not going to delve into this in a huge amount of detail, but it's really important for you just to be aware that there are 7 focal points, and for each focal point there's a scale. So there's 14 scales in total. Also, some scales are much more important than others because of the impact they have on staff. Now, if you just take a minute to look at that slide there, and this goes back to, I think it was a comment you made before, Martine, the top one, values people, that is seen as a critical belief. So that's why it stands alone. So there are the 3 categories, and the first category is valuing people, and that's seen as like central for this GBQ. You know, if you're the sort of manager who really values their staff, wants to see them grow and develop, that is going to have an immediate impact on the performance of your team, of those individuals in the team. The next category is really a set of key boss responsibilities. So how well do they manage their people? How well do they manage themselves and the task? And then the bottom row is more behavioural based. So how well do they explain something, or listen, or control their emotions? You know, are they always upbeat? Are they predictable? And I'm without a shadow of a doubt, I'm sure you've worked for bosses that are very unpredictable, where you're thinking, I can't go in at the moment and speak to them about this really important thing because I know that they're in some kind of mood. Okay, so that's the scales, and those are the focal points that make up the Good Boss questionnaire. Now, when in terms of the questionnaire itself, this is done online, and there's many questions that you answer, which is on a we call it a Likert scale. So when you answer these questions, Lynette, would you mind uploading the PDF into the chat function for everyone?
Is he doing that? I'm so sorry. I actually sent it to you only instead of to everybody. So there we go. Resending to everyone.
We're very mindful that there's a lot on this slide, and it's very small font. So coming your way in the chat function is a PDF version of it. So please do open it up and have a look. So if you remember this slide here, when you look at the actual questionnaire, you've got the scales written on each. So right at the top, I'll use that as an example. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm just going to use the top one as an example. Values people was the focal point, and the scales there's 2 scales. How well does your boss reward you? How you know, do they punish you? So that's almost like a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being, you know, they acknowledge and praise your work. 1 being they intimidate you to get results. They don't even say thank you. Balance focused, 1 to 10 again. 10 being they're reasonable with their demands. They're cognizant of the fact. They're mindful of the fact that you have a life outside of work, that you need to shut down at 3 o'clock to collect your children and then be back on at 4. Versus someone who is completely work focused. And Sally, you gave us just a prime example of someone who really disregarded the fact that, you know, 11 o'clock at night to ring you, you know.
On your personal mobile. Yeah,
thank you, on a post. So when you've completed the questionnaire, this is a blank grid, and I'll show you one that's completed just by way of an example, but just wanted to run through with you the process, if you like. So you complete the questionnaire, but you do need to have it reviewed by a trained GBQ practitioner. And that's where we are. That's where we step in, people business. So Lynette and I and Julie, who's on the call, and we have 3 other people in our team of 12 who are trained GBQ practitioners. Now, part of the review with you is, it's a 90-minute session where we talk through your questionnaire, the outcome of which is an action plan. So if that's your questionnaire, if those are the results, what can we do to develop some of these skills for you? Okay. I'm going to move on to showing you a completed questionnaire. Lynette, did you want to add anything at this point? Are you all right that I carry on?
No, I'm all right.
Okay.
Keeping an eye on the chat with Julie as well.
Okay.
So I've just uploaded into chat the example that has been completed.
Oh, brilliant. Actually, before I come on to that, and this is the last one, I'm on the last few slides actually. Before I come on to that, the way companies, in case you're wondering, well, how do I use this? So you could fill in a GBU so that you can actually see at a glance where you've self-assessed yourself on these scales. The beauty of doing the GBQ, so if you download and have a look at the second PDF that Lynette is sending, that is when we have other people assess you, or other people assess the manager. So it's like a it's a 180-degree feedback tool. Okay, I'm sure you've heard of 360-degree feedback. This is 180 degrees because it's a boss and then their direct people in their team. And we use this successfully. We can use this either on a one-to-one with you, or we can get a whole team to fill it in as a way of developing that team. And here's one that we completed earlier. I feel like I'm on Saturday Kitchen. The bright red person is the boss, and the other colours represent all the other people in their team that completed the report. So this is what it would look like if you did a GBQ. If you just did a GBU about yourself, you would only see the red dots. So you would see your self-assessment. So this is what we would, if this was filled in by a manager and the direct reports, the coaching session would be one-to-one, confidential, with the boss, helping them to make sense of their report. Now, I'm not going to go through this line by line. We've got FAQs coming up very soon. I'll just finish. Oh, no, I won't finish now on that. Hold on, I've got too far. Sorry. The actual questionnaire that you saw there is a live one. It was an experienced manager who'd worked with a team for quite a long time, and it was done as part of an appraisal process. So feedback was given. Now, overall, the boss was really pleased with their feedback because in many areas the team had given her high ratings, more than she'd given herself. So she was surprised and slightly disappointed in the strong communicator scores. I don't know if you saw that. That was lower than she predicted. So which is I can't see on the.
It's the bottom section, the blue, the first line of the blue.
Ah, yes, thank you. So
yeah.
it's, oops, yes, it's this area here, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So she was a bit surprised and disappointed by that, because particularly in the pandemic, she had put really special efforts into communicating more. She was really pleased with the rewarding and balance focus feedback, given that they are also the most important scale. So, there was some really great stuff in here, but there was an area that needed a bit more work on, which was the communicator scale. So when she reflected, when she was given the feedback session and during the reflection on the feedback session, she felt that there might be a difference between her verbal and written communication. So following the session, she resolved to talk to members of her team specifically about communication and how she could improve it. So I wanted to take you through that because it highlights that, you know, the upshot of doing this questionnaire is a development plan, but a development plan could be a number of things. It could be, you know, do a bit of e-learning in something. It could be read a good book in a topic. It could be go on a workshop. Or it could be as simple as talk to your team, ask them what it is they need from you. I'm going to pause there and I'm going to just hand over to Lynette to explain at a high level the differences in the GBU and the GBQ and the costs. We will send you this information and then we'll invite some questions.
Yeah, I think just mindful of the time, we did have a bit of a late start because we were waiting to see how many other people could join us. We're not going to go through all of this, but the GBU is the self-reporting tool, the one that we've been talking about as well. So that is in this first column, and that is about £45 per participant. It is an absolutely wonderful tool for self-development, and can be applied across so many, you know, in so many different ways. You know, it's specifically designed for people who might not yet be managers, or if you support or supervise other people, even work in teams. I think you can apply the learnings in so many different ways. There is also the GBU program, the GBQ, which is the full Good Boss questionnaire, which was the example that Chrissy has just talked us through. You know, that is £95 per boss. We tailor the quotes for those. So please do feel free to ask us questions about those. But the whole Good Boss journey takes us across, you know, the range of questionnaires, and the training program has been designed to assess how good bosses are and to identify those key areas of development. You know, so from the GBU all the way through to the GBQ, the GB Academy, you know, and the Good Boss Momentum. So any questions that you might have about that, do ask. But I think we should move on
We
and
should.
not.
Well, we're
Yeah.
just we're here now. We're here. Lynette, do you want to mention what our offer will be?
Yes.
Then we'll move on to questions.
Yeah. We've decided that we are going to offer everybody who has joined us live today. So I'm afraid this is not going to be available to you if you're watching the recording. But as a thank you for joining us live today, we would like to gift all of you a GBU. Try it for yourself. See what, you know, complete the questionnaire and get your report. So I'm hoping that is of interest and a bit exciting. Let's hear in the chat, you know, have we interested you enough? Would this be something that you'd like to do? So I do believe that you've agreed that we could receive your contact details after this. So we will be in touch so that we can set you up. We will also be giving away some additional sessions with the GBQ practitioner. So we think it's all exciting stuff. We can talk you through all the applications. So yeah, I think at this stage, that's all I'm going to say about that. And let's open the floor to some questions. Do you have any questions for us at this stage?
Can I just ask, is it worth doing, like, is it, because there's quite a price difference in the programs and the questionnaires, so I'm just wondering, is it better to do a questionnaire first and then move on to a program if needed, or how does that work?
Yes, definitely. Doing the questionnaire kind of sets the baseline, because you'll become, by doing it, it raises your self-awareness. And it will give you an idea as to what sort of 2 or 3 things you might want to pay attention to as part of your development plan. Absolutely.
Right, okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for us at this stage?
So how long is the questionnaire? Like, it was very hard to see because obviously it's quite tiny font. But how long is it? Roughly how long do you think you need to set aside to fill it in? Hour, 2 hours?
Oh, I'd say 30 to 45 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes should do it.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. That was Julie. Yeah. I think as with all psychometrics, the ask is to answer the question quite, don't think about it. Go with the natural, what is your first instinct, and use that as your answer. So you do go through them quite quickly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If it's like that, it's not, don't think about it, just what do you think, and don't put any thought in that much thought into it, because that can change how you feel, because you'll start analysing.
Yes, overthinking those answers, and then we don't get that true reflection, and then that would affect the outcome.
You can also save the questionnaire and come back to it later, Sally. So if you get interrupted, you can pick it up later and it would have saved you progress.
Oh, cool, thanks. That's quite useful. I'm just thinking is, quite often in your own day job, you've just got to try and find some time for yourself, and I think this is one of the things that you need to do. This is something I want to do, and give yourself a break, especially now the sun's out. Yeah. Or just sit in the garden. I like you'll sit in the garden, Jan.
You can sit in the garden and do it when it gets to 1 o'clock, Sally, or whatever the tickle is.
Happy.
You can do it happily, yes. Any other questions, or for Lynette and I, any other sort of immediate thoughts or feedback on what you've seen? Is there anything that you feel we could explain, not now, but if you want any more detail in, do let us know. There is someone in the garden. I think Janice is in the garden. Yeah. Oh, good for you, Janice.
Definitely. Maybe think about doing this. It might be you that wants to do the Good Boss questionnaire with your team, or you might want to have your boss do it. There's so many different ways to apply this, and apply the learnings. You can be the topic, or your boss can be the topic. Many different ways to apply the learnings.
Thanks,
just
Lynette.
to think about it.
I think where we've seen it work really well, the GBQ, is when a boss and his or her team have done it before we've run a sort of series of workshops, like a whole management course or leadership program with them, and then we do it at the end. And we do it at the end just to see if there's been any movement in those scores. We do it as a sort of check and balance. That can be quite useful. Yeah.
And I think with this group, this mix that we've got here, there might be some bosses who are on here as well.
Or future
bosses.
Or future bosses.
Have you had any sort of adverse reaction from people when they realise that their team don't think of them as they think? Asking for a friend. Love it.
Love it. Oh, hello, dog.
Yeah, oh, lovely dog.
Doggy. I've got one just like you. Oh, it's gorgeous. Sorry, Sally. You were asking if there's any. I mean, there will be gaps. And I know there've been instances where there've been differences in opinion, absolutely, and it's how. But we've been trained in how to deal with that as a coach, as a facilitator. And we would simply ask the person, okay, we can see on this scale here that you've put yourself here, but your team have put yourself slightly lower. What, you know, what do you think that's down to? Or so that's the way we run the session, is to try and draw out from the person where they think that's come from. And most of the time they will have an inkling as to why that is. Yeah, but it makes for a really rich conversation. It's a bit like having a mirror held up to you, so it can be quite scary, but that's okay, because our job is to make it less scary and much more comfortable. Any other questions?
Sorry, I've got another question, because we had a trainer last year who did all this coaching for us. So I was just asking, because you just mentioned coaching, so I just wondered, do you do not just a good boss kind of thing, but do you do actual coaching sessions tailored for people who are not necessarily managers, but are intermediate level?
Yeah, we do. Yes, absolutely. We offer business offer coaching for individuals or teams up to including executive level.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll stop asking questions now.
No, please, no, please. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll make sure that you know, we can send you some more information on that. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Chrissy, for coming on. And I'm sure that if you have any questions or anything else that Chrissy, they'll be able to help you. Chrissy and Lynette will be able to help you moving forward. And yeah, we'll send everything all over.
Do you send our contact details, Charlotte?
I can do, yeah.
Yeah, please.
So
yeah,
I'll do that.
That would be really helpful. Then people can contact us directly if they wish.
Perfect. I've made a note as well of everybody who's joined, so I'll let you know.
Okay, fantastic.
Perfect.
Well, onwards and upwards. Go and enjoy that sun, everybody.
Oh, it's lovely out there.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, and thanks for your participation today. Thank you. Bye.
Much. Bye.
Bye.
Lynette, do you want to stay? Hello. My dog's coming now. Oh wow, we had some really nice comments in the chat. That was great.
Do you want to stop recording?
Oh, stop recording.
Yeah, let's stop recording now.
Thank you for reminding me. Do you want to stop?